is the Hisab. This is something that is very popular, and this is actually also very popular here in the West among Islamic organizations and so on and so forth, Islamic committees in America, big organizations here, that their citing is based on astronomical calculations. In other words, they will determine maybe 2-3 weeks ahead of time, or maybe even more, I don't know, that Ramadan, the first of Ramadan already is going to be on such and such day, and that Sha'ban is going to be 29 months, for instance, or Sha'ban will be 30, by astronomical, mathematical calculations, however they do this. Scholars, they mention that this opposes the book and sunnah, right? First, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. When you see it, then fast. So then, what does that mean? You need to see it first. Then the fasting begins. And if you can't see it, then what do? Let it go to 30 days. And then the first will be after the 30th. Those are your two options. They sight the moon, and we said they could use binoculars or telescope or whatever. We'll stop it there. Continuing on with what we were talking about, this hisab and using astronomical calculations. He said that some fools, basically ignoramuses, and who exaggerate as it relates to calculating the moon calculations. He says this is an innovation into the deen of Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not prescribed. Allah Jalla wa Ala shara'a lana siyam bi ahadi amrayn. Allah has prescribed fasting for us to begin by one of two ways, and this is what we discussed. He said either by the sighting of the moon or the completing of the month of Sha'ban as 30 days. It's going to be one or the other. And there is not a third option. There's not a third option. Like we said, the astronomical calculation is something that they have predicted. They forecast the beginning of the month. And this is very common here in the West. Very common here among different groups, Islamic groups here in the West. He says, look what the Shaykh says here. Very, very heavy angle and a point, he says. He said these astronomical calculations and astronomy and knowledge of the zonings or the arising points of the moon, this was actually present during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He says it was even stronger then than it is today. The knowledge of that, it's science. It was stronger then than today. And the Prophet ﷺ did not rely on these astronomical calculations because they are prone to error. They're prone to error. They could be wrong. فالحساب, he said these astronomical calculations are from the workings of people, of it's human intervention. And so it's exposed to error. So then the one who's calculating, the one who's actually doing the estimation of the moon, he will certainly fall into error, and because he's human. Also, in addition to that, he says that these astronomical calculations, for instance, do you know how to do it? Do any of you know how to do it? Do you even know the science behind it? You don't. Look what he says. He said, this is amrun khafi. He said, this is a hidden science. لا يعلمه كثير من الناس. Many people have no idea how to do it. He says, وَالدِّينُ يُسْرٌ. But the deen itself, the religion, is a deen of ease. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. And to Allah belong praise. So the legislator connected fasting to those matters that are very apparent and clear, that many of the people actually, or rather, the commoner will know, as well as the person who has knowledge of it will know. So each one will understand, will know how to do it. وَلَا يَحْتَاجْ إِلَى كُلْفَةٍ. And it will not require any type of inconveniences, like doing going with this hisab, these astronomical calculations that vast majority of us have no idea how to do. رُؤْيَةُ الْهِلَالِ. So the sighting of the moon or completing the month is 30 days. هذا يعرف كل أحد. Everybody understands this, and everyone is able to actually apply this. And so he says, this is in contrast to these astronomical calculations that they use, that not everyone knows. And also, this is something that is prone to having many errors. And it's being hasty in matters. They want to get ahead, and figure out however many days, weeks, or months ahead of time exactly when Ramadan will begin. So you see, for instance, on the calendars, like for instance, we already have an official day of Ramadan for the calendar, although that could be off. Right? So we can't rely on that. We don't know. Again, it goes against the narration. This narration really rips into a lot of shubahat. When you see it, fast. Have they seen it? But they already have the date. You understand? اتبعوا السنة يا إخوان. Follow the sunnah. بارك الله فيكم.